morning, good morning. My dear brothers and sisters, clergy and ambassador for peace, 안녕하십니까? Today I'd like to talk about let us bring God back to America from Trauma's Anthology, Volume 2. Let's study.
Let us bring God back to America. Beloved leaders, what kind of country is this nation where you were born? What kind of nation are you living in? What dreams did your ancestors hold dear as they landed on these shores? What ideals did they strive to practice and cultivate in this nation? When the Pilgrim Fathers sailed across the Atlantic Ocean under the most adverse conditions, surviving deadly storms and various setbacks, their only ray of hope was God, their heavenly
Day of starvation, leaving behind seed to sow next year for their future descendants, and their only hope was heavenly parents. Here is an important point, okay? Their only hope was heavenly parents. Later, when the United States risked their lives and fought, David versus Goliath battle for the independence against Britain, their hope and trust was in God, the heavenly parent. In their heart and minds, God was everything. Their resolve and courage and determination to attend the heavenly parents was truly great and holy. Heavenly parents answered the call of his sons and daughters who were fighting bravely in this great conflict in the name of his will. As a result, the United States of America, the land of the release of freedom, was born. Because the only faith and hope and love of the Pilgrim Fathers was God, they overcame countless hardships and created an America that guarantees freedom of the faith. In the meantime, what should we learn from the Pilgrim Fathers is that they put God first in everything. God alone was their faith. God was their only hope. God alone was their love. In this world, nothing can be trusted. Nothing can be hoped for. And nothing can be loved. My brothers and sisters, I am telling you over and over again and again, what is the faith? God is my Father. I treat and believe in myself as a son and daughter of God. This life of faith is the most important and most basic things. The second is that God is only hope. If you absolutely believe in and accept God as your Father, you will have incredible hope in any situation. As long as you believe that God is alive, you will have the courage and challenge and hope that you can overcome any difficulties. Third, only God is love. When I experience that God is with me and that God loves me forever as a parent more than anyone else, I will risk my life to love God. Therefore, in order to realize God is love, we must absolutely believe that God is our parents, and I must treat myself as God's belonging. America boldly, show the world that despite having people of many different languages and culture, it was possible to build one nation under God and eventually one family under Heavenly Parent. However, unfortunately, the holiness that once characterized America has begun to secularize and collapse in the face of a challenge influenced by the self-centered rise in materialistic culture and atheistic ideas based on science. And God started to leave the country. True parents wept endlessly as they walked down Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. New York holding Heavenly Parents as they were leaving the United States. Then what should we do to bring America back to life from now on? This is the important point, what Father is talking about. My brothers and sisters, we need to really carefully listen what true parents talking about. What should we do? Okay? What should we do to bring America back to life from now on? First, we have to go back to the early days, like the days of the Pilgrim Fathers. And we must put God first. We need to put God as the top priority. The problem is that the United States began to perish when material was given priority over God. The second heavenly parents must rekindle the vision of establishing the idol of God, the idol kingdom of God. This is a very important point, my brothers and sisters. You know, Christianity, not just only American Christianity, entire Christianity, they lost the vision, lost the clear goal. What is the hope and vision for Christian people, especially American nation? We need to remind them what is God's vision. God's vision through Christianity, God wants to restore God's nation. The Christian nation's hope and vision is what? That is to build God's nation. Once we lose that kind of vision and goal, then easily become secularized. We must invest everything for the kingdom and righteousness of God. That's why Jesus said that do not worry what to eat, what to wear, what to drink. You need to think God's nation. You need to think God's righteousness first. Once we lose that kind of vision and hope, then easily connect to the Satan's environment. Third, the reason why God established America is to save the world. Therefore, the United States must put the world ahead of its own interest and live for the sake of the world. If America does not realize the role of the America, why God loves America so much? God we want to love all mankind through America. That's why, as the unificationist, we do not have whole world providence. We do not have all mankind. We lose our own identity. Very important 3 points I'm just telling you. What's the first one? My brothers and sisters? You need to understand about that. We need to go back. Okay? We need to go back and then we really recognize how our ancestor Pilgrim Fathers did, This is important. So Pilgrim Fathers, they put God first. How about this day? God is not first, even not God secondary. They ignore God. What's the second issue? We need to let Christian people realize that what the Christian people's vision and goal to restore the one nation. Right? What's the third point? Solving the war. Need to remind always these 3 points. Then we can go back to God's bosom. Then America will grow forever under God's protection. Okay, next is a living divine principle. Again, talking about the last days. Let's study EDP.
The evil world under satanic sovereignty is replaced by the ideal world under God's sovereignty. Hell on earth will be transformed into the kingdom of heaven on earth. Therefore, it will not be a day of fear when the world will be destroyed by global catastrophes, as many Christians have believed. In fact, it will be a day of joy when the cherished hope of humankind, the desire of the ages, will be realized.
Let's study Father's word.
The center of the providence of the last days is the Messiah. Today, we call this age the end of the world. From the perspective of Christian theology, doomsday, that is, the last days is coming. Then what is the last days? The last days is the time when, in terms of the period of the end of the world, a person who bears the entire mission brings everyone together, from individuals to all the peoples of the world, and, by extension, all of heaven and earth.
Yes. What is the unite all the people of the world, including the individual, the family, tribe, nation, and the heavens and the earth? You must know that the last day cannot be ended unless the Messiah comes to this earth and fights Satan and wins from the individual level up to the global level. We blessed family must take responsibility for ending the last days from our individual, our family, and our tribe based on the victorious foundations of true parents. Next.
The last days is the time when we meet central figures of the last days. What does the last days mean today? This indicates the time to meet an embodiment of the word, that is, the central figure of the words. However, in order for us to
it indicates the time to reunite with the true parents who are the embodiment of the word. However, in order for us to meet the embodiment of the word, we must become one with the word of God proclaimed by the true parents. Only such people will be able to form a relationship with the true parents. Jesus came to convey perfect words on earth, but he could not fulfill to manifest those perfect words. Furthermore, we must know him and serve him as the bridegroom, as the bride. We must enter into a reciprocal relationship as the bride and groom. This is the important point, my brothers and sisters. What's our relationship between Jesus and us, and between true parents and us? And then through the Messiah position is the bridegroom. Our position is the bride. Very interesting. Just like a few days ago, we had a leaders meeting with the mother, and then, Rev.Chung Shik Yong from Europe, and he shared, I married you. The mother is laughing. I married you. And then Ochika laid down talk about wow. And then we need to understand why have that kind of dream. Messiah position is bridegroom. Our position is bride, right? That means you need to completely become one with the mother. Okay? So bridegroom and bride. What's the most important between bridegroom and bride? What's the most important? Do you need to you need to have the diamond ring or the gold ring, or what kind of the gift the best? What's the most important between bridegroom and the bride? That is artistic relationship. So I immediately feel that Ochika's dream, you need to unite with the mother, completely become oneness, like the relationship between bridegroom and bride. God always teaches us through the dream, right? Not only do we meet the external true parents, but we must be able to come into contact with the true parents' heart, which comes to us through the word and through their personalities. Have you met the true parents through the word? At the time of Jesus' disciples and the Israelites all failed while looking externally at Jesus. Did you interact with the true parents' words, personality, and heart? In the last day, we are still in the last day. At the same time, we are living in the end of the church as well. We need to know that. Important thing is a relationship, how to interact with the true parents' word and personality and heart. And then today's youth ministry, God's purpose of creation and the Trinity, also quite important content. Let's study together.
God's purpose of creation and the Trinity.
The Trinity, human being must also exist as beings of the Trinity. When a Trinity centered on God is established, it will form the foundation and complete the purpose of creation. We already know through the divine principle, right? God's purpose of creation is to fulfill the centering on God and centering on the Trinity of the parents and husband and wife and children. In your family, who are your Trinity? Okay? Your parents, and then your spouse, and your children. They are your Trinity. This eternal Trinity, you cannot separate. Your eternal Trinity, what is your eternal Trinity? No matter what, okay? Your parents, your spouse, your children. This is your eternal Trinity. Because of my existence is one that's centered on God's Trinity, I must go forward and I must multiply it, centering on 3 generations. God's purpose of creation for parents to become one, husband and wife to become one, and children to become one to form an ideal family. Without Trinity, I cannot establish an ideal family. That's why no matter what, I need to respect my parents. I need to love my parents. No matter what, you need to have an inseparable relationship with your spouse. No matter what, even though your children not much connect to the church or what, no matter what, you need to restore them. Cannot give up them, okay? Because your eternal Trinity. Few days ago, Korea has the Mother's Day. So my mother, I could not see, I could not contact her very often. I wrote a letter. I determined, even though I am busy, I could not call her because sometimes she cannot hear much, but she can read. So I'm determined to send a letter every week. My beloved mother, This time I met her and I'm hugging my mother. We talk each other. I was so sad I could not have much time to spend with my mom. She's Korean, is 95 years old and still very strong. My brothers and sisters, your parents, one of your eternal Trinity member, very important. God does exist as a Trinity, In order to complete the Trinity, you must be filial to your parents. And we do that how? You and your spouse must be filial to each other and to your children. I am the one who has the responsibility to have filial piety centered on 3 generations. So, Kingdom of Heaven is the heaven system, okay? System. Trinity system cannot be separated. Trinity system. That is the really Trinity unit. This is really incredible. And next content.
The true meaning of the cross-cultural blessing. What is an international and cross-cultural? A person who is
the cross-cultural blessing. It means completely eradicating the fallen blood lineage and replacing it with the blood of God. That is the real meaning of the cross-cultural blessing. Okay? The cross-cultural blessing is to inherit God's blood and become descendants of the direct blood lineage. To inherit the blood of God, you must deny yourself thoroughly. The cross-cultural blessing is to deny yourself and fully affirm God's word so that your own blood is completely replaced with God's blood. It is to completely replace my past fallen nature and satanic lineage with the power of God's word. When I think about myself, my strength drains. And when I think of God, I gain strength. To change from the horizontal heart to the vertical heart. What is the replacement? It means that you must know how to change your mindset from a horizontal life to a vertical life. A horizontal life is a self-centered life. A vertical life is a God-centered life. Therefore, you must train your life to strengthen your conscience vertically. If you establish a vertical relationship, your mind will always feel at easy and gain strength. When we artistically give and receive within our family, our hearts are easy. Married couples should comfort and respect each other. In the case, the couple should treat each other vertically. When a couple treat each other horizontally, conflict between them intensifies, and their heart become insecure and suffer. This is very important. Why we quarrel and fighting each other as a husband and wife? Because you treat your spouse horizontally. That's the point. Husband and wife relationship, of course, they are, centering on true love, they are equal. But when you treat your spouse, do not treat her or him horizontally. Whenever you treat your spouse horizontally, then problems occur and conflict is really begins. That's why, my brothers and sisters, to settle out your relationship with your spouse, you need to your spouse treat vertically. But vertical treat means you treat your spouse as God's wife, God's husband. Need to only this way can solve the problem. Horizontal problem only can solve centering on vertical heart. No other way, my brothers and sisters. Adam and Eve just give and take horizontally without God, without vertical heart. That's the problem. If we always from a vertical relationship, our fallen nature lose its power. That's why when you treat your spouse as a vertical, when you treat your children as a vertical, not horizontal way, you are my children, you are my son, you are my daughter, you are my wife. If you try to possess your spouse and your children, that's the problem. That's why how to solve the problem? You need to treat your spouse vertically. You need to treat your children as vertically. They are sons of God, they are daughter of God, they are son of God. This is the important point. Secular world does not know how to deal with this issue. Conversely, if we establish our conscience vertically and live according to our original nature, we will gain the strength. Next content.
Who am I centered on? In our life
of faith, we must know how to switch from the horizontal environment to vertical environment. People who live in horizontal environment are always self-centered. So check whether the children are centered on their parents or centered on themselves. How about your children is vertical or horizontal? If your children are very horizontal, that means you need to reflect on that. Your life of faith is not much vertical. That's why your children resemble from you. Depending on who live as the center of their lives, we can distinguish whether they are vertical children or horizontal children. Even when you look at married life, you can distinguish whether they are vertical or horizontal by looking at the central figure of the wife and the husband. Replacement is to live with the mindset that you are not living for yourself, but for the sake of another person. In other words, replacement is changing from a self-centered mind to a mind centered on the other person. That's why self-centered is our enemy, right? Vertical mind means we are always centering on God, centering on my object partner. They should be my center, not my own self. Very important. They will learn who am I centered on? Thank you very much.